Welcome back. We're here with Andrea Quinn. Give her a hand. Hi, how are you?
Fine, thank you.
Awesome. I'm so happy to have you here.
Oh my gosh, I'm so honored to be here.
Oh my gosh, can I say I take your classes?
Yes,
and
sure.
Oh my God, they're amazing. The quintessentials. Everybody should have these. These are great life lessons. I have to say, I find them life changing. So I'm so happy our paths have crossed and that I have you on today. How long have you been a motivational speaker, author, and business and life coach?
It's been 10 years now, which I can't even believe. Yeah, it's been 10 years, and I've been so fortunate to cross the paths of so many incredible people that whose life mission was they just want to do better. They just want to be better
Right. Well,
people.
that's what you help people do.
Yeah, just be better.
Yeah, you have a gift for that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And we're going to talk about your journey to finding out that gift, you know. So you grew up in San Francisco.
The Bay Area, yes, I did.
So I think, you know, you and I talked about it. You think actually growing up in that area kind of lent itself to your way of life and thinking. And,
right. It was more of an open, community. We were exposed to a lot of different things.
Yeah.
My father exposed us to all different religions, all different people, all different ways of thinking.
Cool?
So it was very cool.
So he was very open-minded.
He was very open-minded.
But I think you shared with me your dad was like a Norwegian, right?
Icelandic.
Icelandic.
From Iceland,
and
yeah.
your mom was
From Spain.
Mm-hmm. Well, there's a fiery combination, huh?
Hot and cold.
Yeah.
Woo!
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but it worked.
It did. It
Yeah.
did.
Yeah.
I think that the thing that I learned about it was what true power was by growing up with in a very patriarchal home, and then having to find your voice as a female within that.
And you were telling me that your dad actually grew up during the Depression and how that severely impacted him. Severely might not be a good word.
It was severely because he was one of the few that didn't have a dad. You know, they used to talk about how fathers abandoned their families during that time.
Yeah, I don't think a lot of people know that.
Yeah,
you know,
they
unless you
did.
study that era.
People would leave the farm.
I mean, it makes sense.
Yeah, and so the women were
because they were so embarrassed and
they couldn't handle it. So he was one of the few that didn't have a father present back then, and so he took that father thing a little seriously when it came his time.
Funny thing, the same thing happened to my dad. His dad left when he was like 2 or something. Yeah. No, it impacts them very much.
Right.
Yeah. So, but the good that came out of this was it sounded like, you know, you shared with me your dad would be like, you know, if you were sad about something, he'd be like, well, look at all the good side. You know.
Yeah, it was really important, and I think that's been the foundation of my entire business. So he used to, when I used to try to be dramatic, he would just. I
can't imagine that.
I earned that name,
What
Drama.
he used to be.
Drama Quinn. I earned that name. And he would just say, you know, what are you so upset? What do you think you're getting so upset about? We can open the newspaper right now and we can sit and cry about all the bad things that are going on in this world.
Right.
But what's good? What's good right now?
You know, it's so funny that you say this because that advice right there couldn't be better at this time. And this is what I say to all my friends who are constantly turning on that tube and just letting it suck the life out of them. And I say, turn that tube off and focus on what is something you could be doing to make the world a better place today.
Right.
What are you doing? Like, do something positive. Help somebody. Empower somebody. Help yourself. Do whatever your gift is that's supposed to be bringing you joy. Right.
Right. And that's what people don't understand. Especially women. You know, we're really hard on ourselves. We have this incredible list of all the places we think we're broken and we're wrong. Yeah. And then if we could just fix that list, everything would work out.
Right.
And that's just such a lie of the ego. It really, really is.
Right.
I'll tell you, the most important thing is, what am I good at?
Yeah.
And how do I get better at that?
Right.
When you put your effort that you're trying to put into getting better at what you're not good at, look at the waste of time that is.
Right.
So your gifts and what you're good at is the breadcrumbs to your success.
Right.
So what I think the most important thing to do is to sit down and go, okay, where am I awesome?
Yeah.
What am I really good at?
Right.
And what's my plan towards that? And when you ask, especially powerful women, what are you good at? They have a blank look on their face because they're really
not
clear.
Tapped into it?
No, because their list about where they don't measure up is so much bigger.
Right.
Because they hold that bar so high, right?
Right.
So it's an interesting conversation to sit with someone and say, so,
yeah,
where do I rock? Where am I amazing?
right, right.
We almost feel bad about that.
Right.
Well,
And it's funny though, entrepreneurs will try to do everything.
you can't do everything.
And you can't be good at everything. The whole point of it is, and this is why I do the 360 Karma community and try to bring people together that have different gifts to share.
Right.
Is that you can't be good at everything. So the point is you're supposed to do what you're good at, which is exactly what you're saying, to lend your gift to the world. And then you're supposed to use the gifts of the other people to help yourself build what you're good at.
Yeah, and that's community. That's
Exactly.
that's support.
Yeah.
And what happens to a lot of people is they're embarrassed about what they don't know.
Yeah, that's
and what
so
they're not
silly.
good at.
Yeah.
Instead of going, wait a minute, that's just not what I'm good at.
Right.
This is what I'm good at.
Right.
And then we don't realize that we actually empower people
Yeah.
by allowing them to be their best selves.
Of course.
Instead of, it doesn't make us look bad.
Right. Like that person that goes, I'm going to start a company. I'm going to build a website. Oh, do you know how to build a website? No, I don't, but I'm building that website. It's like, why don't you, somebody has a gift at that. Why don't you let them build the website? You'll empower them. I think this is what you're saying.
Correct.
And then maybe they'll need what it is you're doing on your website, or somebody else will, you know.
Right.
And that's what it is.
And that's where you see people make the biggest leap. When they realize, all right, what I'm good at. I had a woman who I was very close to, and you know her very well as well, who had this wonderful jewelry that everybody loved.
Yeah.
And she just couldn't get her website up because
Yeah.
she felt like, I don't understand websites.
Yeah.
So she took the class that
Yeah.
you're in, and she realized, like, wait, I do jewelry. I don't have to do the website. And it was
Right.
that little tiny shift.
Yeah.
And then in no time, her site was up because somebody else was allowed to do it.
Right.
We just feel.
I think I might have even told her who to use for the website. Which is my point.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's the whole thing is the empowerment.
Yeah.
Is the expansion of what am I good at? How do I take a stand
Right.
for where I show up and I contribute?
Right.
And that conversation alone takes us to another level.
Right.
Not like, what do I got to do to improve myself? I'm not
Right.
good enough over here.
Right.
That's, you know, there's a saying that I think Marianne Williamson used it, which is, what you're not good at is none of your business.
Oh, I love that.
It's none of your business where
Right.
you're not amazing.
Right.
What your business is where you're amazing.
Right.
And everybody is.
Yeah.
Every human being has gifts.
So speaking of that, I know your whole thing is you like to take disempowered people and empower them.
Correct.
And I love that.
Thank you.
And you're like, you have worked with some of the top executives I know in Hollywood and all different genres, music, publishing, entertainment, and others, I'm sure. And, you know, in this circle, you're known as like the secret weapon in Hollywood. You take people that they appear to be very successful people, but you help them to develop themselves even further on a personal and spiritual level, right?
Right.
So that what they're doing is gratifying, because otherwise some people are super successful but not happy, right?
You'll find that a lot.
Yeah.
You'll find that a lot because what happens is we try to get validation outside of ourselves.
Right.
And so that's a slippery slope.
Right.
Because then when we don't have the title anymore
Yeah.
or the nominations anymore or whatever it is,
That goes away.
we don't know how to navigate. But
Right.
when you really come from understanding that life is an inside-out process,
Right.
the outside in
Right.
is just icing on the cake. And I think that the most thing that anyone can do to empower themselves is to start telling the truth about who they are
Right.
from a perspective of their gifts
Right.
and what are they good at.
Right.
And instead of sitting there, I'm not good with family. I make the money, but I know I'm not a good parent because I don't have that gene.
Right.
No, you
Yeah.
have something.
You create your fate.
Correct.
Yeah.
But people feel they don't have the power to create it. They
Right.
think it's dealt to them.
Right. I believe a lot of people think they were dealt things and they don't realize how they've created whatever it is they're in, a bad marriage or a physical thing, or, you know, we do have an impact on authoring our lives, and more so than we realize, right?
Right. And
that's what you help people realize. How do they author their life? For those that are sitting on the sidelines going, gee, I just feel like my life is, a mess and I don't know how to fix it. But it's tapping into how do you empower yourself?
Right. And you empower yourself first and foremost in the way you speak to yourself. Mm-hmm. See, most people speak to themselves in a way that they would never allow another person to speak to them.
Right. You're right.
And they also speak to themselves. They are nicer to other people than they are themselves.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we don't understand the impact of that.
I think especially women, don't you think?
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah, women set their bar really high. Although you did tell me your dad made you feel like you had to set the bar really high, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I mean, it was a good thing, right?
It was a great thing.
Yeah.
But as a young child, sometimes high bars can be very stressful.
Yes.
Especially if you're an overachiever and then you start wanting validation from others to prove your worth. And I think that's where I got into a lot of trouble younger.
So let me ask you this. You said you had a couple of divorces. Now you're with like the man of your dreams. Yes. He's amazing. I've met him, Chris. I love him. What was a pivotal turning point for you to 10 years ago get into this business of helping to empower other people? What was that pivotal change for you?
Well, when you're young and you've been married 3 times, there is a common denominator.
Yeah.
So
yourself, right?
Right. So I realized that I had to work on me. Mm-hmm. I really had to focus on learning and because I wanted to be happy. Mm-hmm. I would.
Now, when you say happy, I heard Oprah in a meditation the other day say you can feel happy or you can be happy.
And it was be.
You wanted to be happy.
I wanted it to be a part of every part of my life.
Right.
And I just, no matter how happy I could make others, it wasn't for me, or try to fix people. We do that as women. We meet people.
Oh, not
and
me.
we meet them at their potential.
We do.
We see someone's potential and we think, oh, we can save them.
Right.
And we really can't.
Right.
And it's
they
us.
have to see their potential.
Correct.
Yeah. So you kind of shifted to doing the work where people could see their potential.
Yes.
Love it.
Right. But the reason that I started doing the work was it started working for me. And people started noticing.
Right.
So then people asked me to start helping others. And that's how it snowballed.
Right. So it gravitated to you, which I think your calling always does.
Yes. It found me.
Yeah, it found you.
Yeah, I had a woman who told me in 2003, you should be a life coach. And I was like, what's that? I didn't know what a life coach was.
Yeah.
And she sent me an article from the New York Times, and it was one of those profound moments.
Yeah, where you're like, that's me.
That's me. That's exactly what I said.
And then also, too, though, you kind of had a little heads up earlier, because wasn't it in high school that your teacher...
Oh. Yes, that was a really interesting... Mr. Volek. Bill Volek.
Yeah.
He was my history teacher, and sometimes you just have that one teacher that thinks he sees something or she sees something special in you.
Yes.
And he always sat and talked to me, but I was a lot of the troublemaker, the kind of class lawyer. Mm-hmm. You know, everybody's business was my business kind of a thing.
Yeah.
And
I could see that, Andrea.
He would keep me. It's true. He would keep me after class and talk to me, and we talk about life and philosophy. And then one day he said, you remind me of my nephew Wayne. And I said, really? And she goes, yeah, he's a lot like you. He was a lot.
And he told you to read his book.
He said he wrote several books, and he wrote a book that the first one I should read is one that when I got to college, to promise him I would read Your Erroneous Zones. And I went, is that dirty? And he said, no, it's not dirty. He goes, my nephew is a man named Wayne Dyer, and you remind me so much of him. And I didn't even know what that meant for so long.
And you didn't know who he was? Or at that time, was he as well known?
He was, but he was...
starting to be?
Yeah, he had several books, and I think he was on talk shows and Tonight shows. But when you're in junior high, that doesn't register for you. You don't even know who that is.
Yeah.
And then as I got older, I was like,
wow.
And then I was watching a movie called The Shift, not that long ago, that Wayne Dyer had done. And he said, my Uncle Bill gave me this book.
Oh, my gosh.
And I got chills.
That was your teacher.
I got chills all over my body.
What a small world.
I know.
Yeah.
So I guess I was maybe destined to do this.
Yeah.
Most of my life.
I'll say. And you told me now you must be channeling an old white bald man.
My father, yes, and my father,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
I do channel him quite often.
Yeah.
He was one of my greatest teachers. My mother had this strength.
He had a wisdom to him.
Oh,
like
he was an
innate...
orator and a teacher, and
Yeah.
he inspired people. He was an advisor, and yeah, he did. And my mother was the rock. She's the bravest person I know. She
cool.
conquered
So you have a little bit of both of them.
a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And so what do you love most about the work that you're doing now? And what are you doing? I know you're taking your workshops on the road for the first time. The one that I said I was involved in that is just life-changing. You have this thing called the Quintessential Tools, right? And did those just come to you? Was that like a download?
I think it was. I think it was when the information started showing up for me to use these tools in my own life. They just began to make sense to me. And so I began to use them in my own life. And then my clients were asking me to help them with theirs, and then the Quintessentials were born. And it was, it's been a wonderful 9-year journey with these tools.
Wow, 9 years, and now you're taking it from LA around the country.
Right, I'm planning to go to every major city.
I think that's so wise. Just having been involved in it, I think, yes, women all over the country could benefit from this. You definitely are meant to take it, bigger.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, yeah.
And the gist of it, just to touch on it is, you give them tools to empower themselves and to realize who's the company I'm keeping, what's really important to me. It is important to surround yourself with like-minded people, right?
Yeah, like-minded people, like-hearted people.
Yep.
Kindness is what we need more of right now in the world.
Yeah,
and how to be not only just kind to others, but to ourselves.
Right.
We're really hard on ourselves as people.
I always say kindness is free. People sometimes say, oh, you're so kind. I'm like, kindness is free.
It is. And
anybody can have it, and we never run out of it. Love and kindness,
It's really what makes the world go round. That, for me, is success and happiness. People ask me how I do what I do with people, and I like to say that I'm the... I feel like I'm the greatest mirror holder in town. I can hold a mirror in front of people until they see themselves.
Yes.
When someone really sees who they are, they're unstoppable.
Right.
It's when you don't know who you are, or you think you should be someone else.
Right.
And so these tools...
Or you don't see the greatness in yourself.
Right. You see all your flaws because that's what other people have told you, or you've...
focused on?
Correct.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's... these tools help people with a paradigm shift of how they see themselves.
Right.
And I think that we start, as you know, we work inside for 4 tools.
Yeah.
And then we're going to work outside for 4, and then the last one ties them together. So there are 9 tools of empowerment, and I really believe that they are game changers for people.
What's your is it Andrea Quinn.com?
Oh, AndreaQuinnCoaching.com.
Oh, AndreaQuinnCoaching.com if people want to find out about the workshops.
Correct.
Wherever they are. What cities are you thinking about?
I'm looking to New York and San Francisco and Chicago in 2018, plus two of them here in Los Angeles.
Great. And then elsewhere.
I want to take it all over.
All over the world?
I would love to. I would love to. I think that empowered women all over the world from a place of truth, we need it. Yep. The Dalai Lama proclaimed that this world will be saved by the Western woman.
Right. And we have to have all these different programs in order to bring people up, up to their potential, women up to their potential. We have a culture that teaches women not to be confident and not to have self-esteem. In just the culture of the way we handle kids, and that has to change. And so what I love about your program is not only could you empower women, but you can empower like mothers to then empower their daughters. Like there's going to be that trickle-down effect.
It's already starting. I have women that call me 6 years after they've taken the class and say, now my daughter's a teenager and I'm teaching her these, and she's navigating high school differently. And I was like, wow, that just made my heart feel so good that I could assist someone in making that kind of impact, not only in their own lives, but for their children and their sisters and their friends and their mates and
it's very rewarding what you do, right?
Yeah,
right. And so it's great if we could focus on having people at a younger age have this confidence, see themselves, empower these young women. What an advantage they would have over our age group, demographic, to have that sooner. And there's so many things in schools that kids aren't taught, at least when we were growing up, and hopefully that's changing. Even how to handle finances.
I was going to say,
things
money.
like that. Yeah,
right.
Yeah, which all comes from, do you feel empowered? Are you surrounding yourself with the right people? Are you connected to your soulfulness? Impacts money, family,
everything,
marriage, work, everything, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And how you show up.
Right. Right. What is the advice you have to someone who feels like they're sitting on the sidelines? They want to be doing something amazing with their life. They want to figure out what their purpose is. Where would they begin if they're sitting there saying, I want to do something important with the rest of my life. I just can't seem to tap into what it is.
I would say you always start small. It starts with the first step. Mm-hmm. So what you start looking at is, what do I do well? Mm-hmm. Some people go, well, I don't do much, Andrea. I just bake.
Yeah.
Well, if you bake, then what you're telling me is you put ingredients together, have a little bit of patience, and something comes out wonderful that you give to others. That's what baking is.
Yeah, right.
So where else can we do that?
And the funny thing, it's funny that you say baking, because last week I had on someone who was in the television industry, and every night she'd go home and bake cookies, and it was her passion, and she loved how happy they made people.
See?
And now she owns Milk Jar Cookies over on Wilshire. It's going to be in Williams-Sonoma and Oprah Magazine. And so sometimes baking is your passion.
Everything.
Yeah.
Everything is something.
Yeah, everything's important.
Everything's important.
Yeah, it's tapping into what brings you joy.
Right.
Yeah.
And that woman, Amma, who goes around the world, she has millions and millions and millions of followers, and people wait 9-10 hours to get a hug.
Wow.
She is one of the greatest kind deities in the world. Yeah. And I run into people all the time, oh yeah, I waited 9 hours for her, Andrea.
Wow.
Just to get a hug from what they feel is unconditional love.
Yeah.
That's not small.
Yeah, no, that's huge.
So
it's funny you say that. I have this party every year, and one of the things I assign people to do, they sign up to do this. I'm not making this up. They sign up to be my huggers. So when people come in the door, they get a hug. And I know my partner last year said, oh my God, I feel so high from all the hugs. You literally do get high from hugging people. So that's a great story.
It's just that everyone thinks, well, I'm not good enough because I only know how to do this.
Right, and everything you can do, it counts. We're going to wrap up here, and I just want to do one success story that stands out in your mind of someone that you helped. You don't have to say their name, but what was the story like in the nutshell?
My goodness. Well, most recently, there was a young girl that moved here with some scripts and some ideas in Hollywood, and she'd never done anything as far as producing or anything, but she had these great ideas, and a big network had gotten a hold of one of them and was about to take advantage of her.
Oh.
And I got her to stand in her magnificence and say no to one of the biggest players in town, that this doesn't work for me. I'm going to take this and go somewhere else.
I love it.
She was scared to death, but she did it based on her magnificence, and now she has a huge deal and is about to be a major player.
Oh my God, Andrea, I love that story.
Thank you.
That's what you do for people every day. I know you have a gazillion of those stories.
Thank you.
Love it. I'm glad, like I said in the beginning, I'm glad our paths have crossed.
Me too.
Great things ahead. I know we're all about empowering women, so.
We are.
Look out, world.
Thank you, and thank you for all you do.
Thank you, honey. Thanks for being on. We will be back next week with more great women, and stay tuned on Wednesdays at noon. Hugs and happiness. Make it a great week.